The 5-second verdict. How is judgment relinquished? This is a story about the awake explorer, whose fourth awakening adventure begins when he realizes how quickly he decides who people are and what their actions mean. A crowded cafe and one mistaken conclusion show him that peace may begin when he stops pretending he can see the whole picture. The awake explorer found the last open table in a busy cafe. He set down his backpack, ordered tea, and opened his laptop. Across the room, a man in a grey jacket was speaking sharply to a young server. The explorer looked up. The man pointed at his cup. The server looked embarrassed. The explorer shook his head. Some people think being a customer makes them royalty. He returned to his screen. A minute later, the man spoke sharply again. The explorer felt irritation rise. Unbelievable. The woman at the next table glanced over. "Do you know him?" "No." "What happened?" "He's being rude to the server." She looked across the room. "Oh!" Her answer was so neutral that it annoyed him. "You don't think so?" "I can't hear them." The explorer could not hear them either, but he had seen enough. At least, he thought he had. His phone gave a soft ping. Course correction. You cannot judge what you do not fully understand. He looked at the screen, then at the man. "Fair point," he whispered. He tried returning to his laptop, but now he noticed what his mind was doing. Grey jacket, impatient. Entitled, probably treats everyone that way. A complete character had been created from 30 seconds of observation. The explorer closed his laptop. "What do I actually know?" The woman beside him smiled. "That's a shorter list." He laughed. I saw him point at a cup. "And?" He looked upset. "And?" He spoke loudly. "And?" The explorer waited. "That's about it." Across the room, the server returned carrying another cup. This time the explorer noticed something he had missed. The man in the grey jacket touched his throat and shook his head. The server leaned closer. The man spoke slowly. Then he pulled out his phone and typed something. The server read it. Her expression softened. She hurried behind the counter. A few minutes later she returned with a bottle of water and a different drink. The man smiled and placed his hand over his heart. The server smiled back. The explorer stared. "What just happened?" The woman beside him shrugged. "Maybe now you know a little more." The server passed their table. The explorer stopped her. "Everything okay?" "Yes, he had throat surgery recently and can't speak clearly. We accidentally gave him something he's allergic to. He was trying to explain." The explorer felt heat rise in his face. "Oh." The server continued on. He looked at the woman beside him. "So much for royalty." She grinned. "You had a whole biography ready." "I did." He looked back at the man. Nothing about the scene had changed except his interpretation of it. The pointing had been the same. The loud voice had been the same. The concerned expression had been the same. But the meaning he had assigned to all of it had collapsed. The explorer thought about how often he did this. A delayed reply meant someone didn't care. A short message meant someone was angry. A cancelled plan meant rejection. A stranger's expression meant judgment. He rarely noticed the moment when observation became interpretation. It happened too fast. By the time he felt upset, the story already seemed like fact. He opened a blank note on his phone and typed, "What I know." A message was short. "What I added. They're upset with me." He added another. "What I know. Someone cancelled plans." What I added. "I'm not important to them." Then another. "What I know." A man pointed at a cup. "What I added. He is an entitled jerk." The explorer laughed. The woman beside him raised her cup. "To incomplete information." He raised his tea. "To fewer biographies." Later, the man in the grey jacket passed their table. He nodded politely. The explorer nodded back. For a moment he felt tempted to replace his first judgment with another. Actually, he's probably a wonderful person. Then he caught himself. That was still judgment, just prettier. He did not know the man, and perhaps that was the lesson. Relinquishing judgment did not mean forcing himself to think positively about everyone. It meant becoming honest about how little he really knew. Outside, the city moved around him. Cars passed, people hurried, phones buzzed, faces appeared and disappeared. His mind wanted to label everything immediately. Good, bad, safe, dangerous, kind, selfish. For me, against me. The explorer slipped his phone into his pocket. He would still notice behavior. He would still make practical choices. But he no longer wanted every first impression to become a final verdict. As he walked away from the cafe, he smiled. 5 seconds was enough time to invent an entire world. Maybe peace needed just 1 second more.